It's back down to the south coast for Norwich this weekend with a trip to Brighton, which will be the first top flight meeting of the teams since 1982-83. This was the City team against Manchester United on Sunday, that 3-1 defeat. Of course, action-packed with those two penalty saves from Tim Krul, and we've got a few issues to potentially contend with. We'll have to see what Daniel Farke says at his press conference on Friday, but everybody's waiting to find out whether Tim Krul and Ibrahim Amadou will both be okay. Both had knee issues and struggled through the final phases of that game. If Krul doesn't play, then will Ralph Fairman be fit to come back in after his recent groin injury, or will Michael McGovern get another opportunity to play in the Premier League? And if it's not Amadou in defence, then will it be Alex Tettey dropping back from midfield to partner Ben Godfrey, and then Tom Tribal coming into midfield would seem the sensible switch? Other issues though, Onel Hernandez, he played the second half in place of Todd Cantwell, so he can come in on the wing. You would have thought he's pushing hard for a start. Marco Stiepermann also came on for Mo Leitner at half-time in the sort of attacking midfield role, although Mario Vrancic hopefully is going to be closer to contention. So there could well be some decisions for Daniel to make, and that could potentially throw off Brighton with what to expect from Norwich. This was the Brighton team which perhaps a little bit luckily beat Everton 3-2 at the weekend, thanks to an injury time own goal. They also scored a late penalty. The one change you would potentially expect is Aaron Moy, former Huddersfield midfielder. He served a one-game ban, so he could come back into things. Jose Izquierdo, the winger, he is still out with a long-term knee injury, and left-back Bernardo as well, so they're not expected to come back into things. Shane Duffy is another player who's been important for them, and he's on his way back from injury, so whether he could be in contention for a start, we shall have to see. In terms of strengths, Brighton are 14th. They're 5 points and 5 places better off than Norwich in the table. They brought in Graham Potter from Swansea in the summer, dismissing Chris Hughton at the end of last season after 2 seasons of establishing them in the top flight, but looking for that slightly different style of play. One area where Brighton, perhaps this is a hangover from the Hughton days, but it's benefiting them so far. They've won the highest percentage of aerial duels in the Premier League so far, 56%. And if you look at their back line, they've got some big lads at the back: Lewis Dunk, Dan Burn, Aaron Webster, all over 6'2". So that has potentially contributed to that aerial strength. When you look at their defensive record overall, it's 14 goals conceded in 10 games, which is 10 fewer than Norwich. You probably don't need reminding. Only 8 teams have conceded fewer so far. In terms of weaknesses, they're pretty solid across the board, as I say, but they are one of the 5 teams to have had 2 players sent off so far this season, so perhaps a little bit of a disciplinary issue that can be exploited from a Norwich point of view. And in terms of dribbles, I'm not sure if this is a weakness or just in terms of the comparison in terms of styles of play, but in terms of dribbles, they average 7.8 per game, which is the second lowest in the division. Norwich 4th most with 11.4. So if Onel Hernandez does come back into the Norwich team, then that could well be a big difference between the teams. And in terms of key man, Neil Maupay is the man that they've turned to for goals. They spent 16 million on him. Of course, Norwich fans will remember him from his success with Brentford in the Championship last season, chasing Timu Pukki for that golden boot. Unsuccessfully, we should add. He's got 4 goals in 10 games in the Premier League so far. Glenn Murray has been the man who's been so reliable in front of goal for Brighton in recent seasons, but he's 36 now. He's still on the bench, not scored yet this season, but of course scored that hat-trick against Norwich the last time City went down to the AMEX Stadium 3 years ago. So still a dangerous customer and somebody that can be a real threat in the air from the bench.